You've got freight on the trailer, you've got hours on your clock, money coming in. But are you actually building a business or just chasing that next load? Tonight, we're breaking down the difference between hauling and scaling, driving and thriving. We're going to do all that right here. Narc, you shut up.
Paying too much for trucking insurance? What if you could save more by making one simple phone call and keep more profit? You could very well do just that with one simple call to Seabright Agency, 800-366-6466. Call now.
Now here's a question that all owner-operators and small fleet owners should consider. What happens when you access the unrivaled advantages that are available through the ES Advantage program? We asked Jeff and Charlie from Contractors Corner to share their thoughts on how they've been able to utilize the discounts and services that are a part of the ES Advantage.
So we started looking for a way to save money on fuel. And we were turned on to the ES Advantage program for fuel first. So we got a hold of Jeff Reese, and he ran us through that program. And man, we were starting to save. And then we started talking to them. Well, we saw their website, and we said, Jeff, what's this thing about insurance and accounting and
Right.
You lease trucks? What?
Right. And that's the thing is we only knew it as a fuel card. And when we started digging deeper, I mean, we ended up getting hooked up with an insurance provider, Seabright Agency, and they created an entire insurance program just for us and our people. And from that, we've learned that, now there's even more potential. There's a greater opportunity, and it's completely opened up our eyes and broadened our vision into what it is we're trying to do, which is help people do better. Wrapped with the ES community just makes that process so much easier.
Now, if you're an owner-operator or small fleet owner and you would like to learn more about how you can drive savings to the bottom line of your business, the ES Advantage program has the discounts and services that deliver the kind of unrivaled advantages that are designed to help you improve your overall operation. Get connected with the ES Advantage today.
Hey, Jeff. Hey, Narc.
Hey, Charlie.
He's like, you must have been talking to the fur babies next door. That's what must have been happening there. You would just feel like picking on somebody just for no good reason.
Absolutely.
And then they look at you and they're like, bro, like, what did I do? And I'm like, you were breathing. Oh, Lord.
Yeah, we're not doing that.
Good God. Anyhow, what's going on, everybody? Craig was first. Craig bought. Just saying. Look, Craig, are you here now? Watch. He's not even here now. Watch. Just saying.
Yeah.
Whatever. I even made him his own little emoji and everything.
He got what he wanted from us.
Right?
Now he's gone.
I feel so used and abused, bro. Hey, Jeff, you made it home, man.
Mm-hmm.
I like it.
I actually had dinner Sunday night with my family. Then I had to go back out to the truck because you know how it is when you're at the house and you got an early morning delivery. Good luck getting up on time.
Right? Yeah, that ain't happening.
Put the truck in the shop for the APU on Monday afternoon, then came home. That got done overnight. I was actually pretty happy with the guys over at Transicold. They got my AC and everything going again on the APU in just a couple hours, really. And now it's at Freightliner for, guess what? DPF issues.
Right.
Well, it's right at 350,000 miles. So I got the amber light for the exhaust on Sunday afternoon. So it's about time. There's probably something needs to be done with it.
I got to put Terry in timeout because it's just expected.
Okay.
Just has to happen. Oh, just had to make that happen anyhow. That's just fun to do sometimes. I should give Narc moderator wrench. That could be funny.
That could be interesting.
I actually thought about just sneaking it in there, and I was like, I don't know. This could be deadly. Oh man, what's up, everybody? I'm in a good mood. It's kind of odd. My neck's screwing me a little bit. Just like 5 minutes before the show started, I'm like, oh no, hey, what's going on? And then whatever, just whatever. Yeah. No, I'll hide everyone. Fair warning. See, I fought the urge. I knew better. Oh my God.
There you go.
What are we doing today, Jeff? We're talking about building the business. Like we're trying to reinforce the business stuff today, right? Why hauling freight doesn't automatically mean you're running a business. Right? Let's be real. There's a lot of people out there that think that's it. As long as I'm running freight, I'm good, man. You know? And then they're just like, whatever, man, busy weeks, thin margins, no systems, right?
Yep.
Common traps right there. And let's talk about how real trucking businesses are, build their value and not just a little bit of revenue, right? So again, it's going to fall back to mindset, and we're going to start off with Jeff running this, because this is Jeff's strongest, one of his strongest points that he really works hard on.
So it's important to know that it doesn't matter if you're a one truck guy, or if you own a small fleet, or if you're a carrier. Mindset is what makes the difference between paying for a job and owning your business. Okay, it's 100% mindset. Are you thinking like a driver, or are you thinking like a CEO? There is a difference,
right?
If you're that one truck guy out there, CEO means chief everything officer.
Exactly.
I mean, literally, you're out there hustling, you're building the relationships. You are your sales team. You are your well, we can debate this, because we actually have a CFO that's a professional CFO that we use in Trucker CFO. But, those duties that would normally in a corporation fall to other people, that's all on you when you're a small business.
Payroll.
Dispatch. Payroll. I talk to so many people that are making enough money to save some on taxes.
Right.
And they don't run payroll, man.
Right.
Why do I need that? A cheap payroll company like the one I use is only $35 a month, but that's $35 a month. Why would I do that? Well, because I save money on taxes, man.
Yep.
Again, the mindset. How are you saving your money? The concept of it's not how much you make, it's how much you keep, right? That's the difference between being a driver and being a CEO. You got to worry about the money, right? Now, money's not the end all be all of life. We all know that.
Right.
And I just put out there, people will tend to say, well, that's easy for some rich guy to say.
Right.
I can tell you, Charlie and I aren't rich guys, but we absolutely have learned from people that are wealthier than we are, how they
heart.
Right. We've learned how they think and how they got where they are. So training yourself to think more like the owner of the business instead of just a glorified company driver, that's key in all of this stuff. You're going to have different priorities. You're going to prioritize your profits, your planning, and you got power up there. I'm not sure. I'm going to say liberty or freedom.
Yeah, that's probably a better word.
And we could talk a little bit about the key mindset of a business owner. The freedom that we're talking about may not be the freedom that you're thinking. Okay. I spend a lot of hours doing things like shopping for fuel, doing my
right.
Stuff that a company driver just doesn't need to worry about, because Swifty Swift or Schneider or Werner or whoever they're working for. They take care of all that, right?
Right.
Well, it falls on us now because we're business owners. So those are some key mindset shifts. Boy, words today
Right.
that
Brain,
set
no
the
braining.
business owner apart from. And I'll use the term because everybody uses it, and it's common parlance out there. The glorified company driver. I mean, let's be real, Charlie. You know, we're good friends with several recruiters over at Swift specifically, and there's a lot of people that, you know, they'll lease a truck to just about anybody if your MVR is clean.
Right.
That seems to be the biggest disqualifier at the megas. Is your MVR clean? All right, step this way, young man.
Right.
You know? If your MVR is clean, you can lease a truck just about anywhere. But that doesn't make you a business owner. It's the mindset that makes you a business owner. Is that what you wanted, Charlie?
I like it, man. Look, I got Craigio up there on the graphic. I just thought that was fun.
Awesome.
Is trucking your job or your business, right? The truck driver mindset, focus on hauls and income, work for someone else, thinking miles, greater than profit. Trucking entrepreneur mindset, focus on assets and wealth, work on your own terms, thinking revenue, expenses, right?
Right.
It's kind of a trip. And really, I mean, when you actually apply this mindset and you actually start thinking these ways, you'll start seeing things change without actually changing much. You know, it's just like when someone is coming out of the company side where they stand on the pedal and drive as fast as they can for as long as they can, and that's how they operate, right? And they don't track fuel mileage, they don't really care. You know, maybe some of them do because of the bonuses or whatever, but really they're most, we've seen it in historically, they just don't care. As soon as you start tracking your fuel mileage, just that little change, that mindset change, right? Without actually changing anything, you'll start seeing your fuel mileage going up. You know, we've seen that years and years and years ago. And it's funny when we get people to do that. And I think that there's a lot of that's here. It's just when you change that mindset, you start making those kind of daily fixes to what you're doing every day, even subconsciously sometimes, you know, just back off the speed a little bit. Oh, well, hell, you know, I'm looking at a watch I don't wear, right? I've only got, you know, I've got 10 hours to get there, and gosh, you know, why am I doing 70? I can be there in 6 hours, or I can be there in 9 hours, right? Just slow down a little bit. Okay, cool. You know, there's my revenue. My net revenue is now up because of that simple little thing. Just because I thought, oh, well, you know, I don't need to be there that early, right? You know, don't take that time. So here's what a lot of people do. They're like, oh, I've got all the time in the world on this load, right? Mm-hmm. What do? They screw around at the beginning of the load.
Go to the casino.
Right? I mean, any number of things. And then they're like, oh, crap, I better get going. Now I'm doing 70, 75, 80, so I can get there on time. Oh, dang, I blew a tire. Now I'm late. I've always been one of those people that got there early. And, you know, if I got time for a reset, I'll do a reset on the receiving end, not on the pickup end, right? Because at least I'm there. There's so many things that could happen. But those little mindset shifts, that was close. They start taking hold in your subconscious, and they start making things happen more and more and more. And then you start getting interested because now you're like, oh, well, check this out. Look at the way this is going. Maybe if I do a little focus here, you know, we could do some more things here, right? And I think that's actually hard for a lot of people to do. I think that they believe, well, I'm fine. I'll just get there fast. And, you know, and what do? They get there fast. So they're actually using extra fuel driving there because they're driving faster than they really needed to. Then they get there and now they're going to idle for another extra 6 or 7 hours. Because it's freaking hot out, you know, and why do you want to do that? Excuse me.
Yeah, I mean, the thing I ask, and I'm going to call Wimpy out, which you don't normally do, but he has a good point. Get there earlier. Why? Why are you getting there earlier? What's the point? I know you're a company driver, so it doesn't matter. But for those of us that are business owners, give me a reason why you want to be there earlier. You know, that's the thing. You know, everybody gives that answer. Oh, I want to be there earlier. Why?
See, I love getting there earlier.
The extra $50 in fuel on that load.
Right. The only reason I want to get there earlier, for me personally, but I'm not driving faster to get there earlier. I'm driving at a, if I've got all this time, I'm driving, 57, 60, 61, something like that, depending on the terrain and whatever I'm hauling. But I'd rather be there in place rather than having to bump up against the edge of the schedule, right? So I little difference in what we're saying. I'm not driving faster to get there earlier. I'm simply utilizing the time better, right? And if it turns out that then I've got this extra time at the other end, then so be it, whatever. When I was OTR, there was times when I would just grab a hotel, and now I don't have to idle, right?
Right.
Oh man. Anyhow, so here's our little question for the segment. Let me throw that up there. What's one system you put into place that changed the game for you? I mean, I can speak for myself. Simply, and this was way back when, taking the time to shop for fuel and planning out my fuel and my routing. Right. That was probably one of the biggest quick changes I made. And it took me almost very little time, and it became a system. Get up pre-trip, and sometimes I reversed it. Sometimes I would shop for fuel and then pre-trip, right? Because it gave me a couple minutes to kind of shake the cobwebs out, whatever, and then move on from there and go about my day. And bam, here I am, saving a couple $100 a week, as much as $1,500 in a week when I started shopping for fuel, and that's tremendous. That's just crazy talk right there. Not a week, a month. Sorry, man, 1,500 in savings in a week would be fantastic, huh, Jeff?
That would be.
Good Lord. But yeah, I mean, like Matt said, I try to arrive early for those unforeseen delays. Exactly. Terry's like, yep, not hours, maybe minutes. I mean, it depends, Wimpy said, I always get there when the shipper opens. I'm shut down by noon every day. Yeah. And Narc said, plus, if you get there earlier, you might be stuck next to Terry and have to listen to her story for hours. Just saying. Whatever. That ain't right. That's wrong. I mean, that's mean. You know what? Just for that remark, I think Terry gets another 10-second timeout. Yeah, I know Narc made the comment, but that's just funnier that way. Anyhow, fuel, Chris Hamilton said. But yeah, so I totally put the wrong question up. That was for the next segment. But anyhow, so let's go back and I'll ask this. What's one mindset you've had to shift since starting your business? Good Lord, I'm broken. Whatever. Buttons. They're not my friend. But yeah, so do you actually have a business or you have some side gig? You know what I mean? This is where we get into systems, right? Systems equal freedom, whether it's for, dispatch, maintenance, accounting, planning, you need to build systems that are supporting these things, right? Excuse me. Do you know what your numbers are or just your next pickup time, right? How much does it cost you for your truck to sit there and not work today? To absolutely do nothing, not even idle the truck, just for the truck to sit there wherever it is, not even turned on. How much is that truck costing you to sit there? What do you need to break even? What do you need to make a real profit, a net profit, not a gross, because gross is garbage.
And like what business structures and routines, what do your business structures and routines say about your long-term goals? Jeff and I and some people over in the RWE community, over there at rwedrive.com, in our school community, have been working on our 1, 5, and 10-year plans, amongst many other things. If you're doing things that aren't moving you towards those goals, or you don't have any goals, where are you going to get?
Right.
That's just crazy to me. You're literally flying by the seat of your pants, and you don't even have anything to track it against, right, Jeff?
That's correct. Yep.
And
Oh, you wanted more.
Tech Wagons on YouTube.
Well, I was just looking at, the question mainly from one of our members always comes up. What do you do now that Rutherford is charging for fuel gauges?
Right.
Guys, we don't have a solution for you other than fuel gauges right now.
Right. Pen and
We're
paper.
working on something in the future. But it's $5 a month or $50 a year. I just looked it up.
Right.
Lawyers have told us not to use the word guarantee, but there's a good chance that you're going to save more than $5 a month using Rutherford's product and tracking your fuel mileage. We've seen
It's
it.
a simple task of tracking it. It's crazy.
And if you're one of those guys, well, I just look at my dash. Okay, that's great. But that's with the newer trucks, they're a lot more accurate, Charlie.
Yeah.
They really are. But it's still not physically yourself tracking the number. One of the things is it's almost gamified for me. Whenever I do a fill up, I kind of cheat, Charlie. I've got an older phone with the old version of gauges on it.
Right.
And Rutherford has not axed that old app.
You better stop saying that out loud.
I don't think he will, because it's not full function like the new ones, right? Because with the new one, you can track def and all sorts of other stuff too. But it meets my needs. The old one does. But it's kind of gamified in my head. I'm excited to see what my fuel mileage was on that tank.
Right.
And if I'm disappointed, you know what I tend to do? I tend to slow down that next tank.
Yeah.
I don't even really think about it. It's subconscious. Like, crap, that was really crappy fuel mileage. Or maybe I don't idle the truck the entire 10 hours. Maybe I'll suffer through a little bit of heat. Don't kill yourself. But what 2 hours sitting in the truck stop watching TV instead of idling the truck to stay cool watching TV. Right? Stuff like that that you can do that'll save you pennies here and there. And Charlie's saying pennies turn into nickels, nickels turn into quarters, and quarters turn into dollars. And if you have that mindset of a CEO, you are watching pennies. Literally.
Absolutely.
You're tracking your numbers. You know your numbers. That separating personal and business finances, I can't stress enough how important that is. Now, it can cause some problems because you're going to have money and mama's going to want that money sometimes.
Right.
For good reason. Mortgage, food, whatever. But you're going to have to say, no, that's for the business. Put your CEO cap on and say, here's the mindset. I'm just going to give you the mindset. If you don't take care of the business first, the business cannot take care of you. Let me say that again. If you don't take care of that business first, the business cannot and will not take care of you.
Right.
So there will be weeks, sometimes months, or even quarters, as we've seen recently, Charlie, where the business has to take precedent. The fuel, fuel purchasing. What are you going to do if you don't have money to buy fuel?
Right.
Okay, so at a Swift or wherever, you've got the Comdata option. It's basically a charge card.
Comdata.
But you don't get the best discounts using that card. use your mud flap, use your ES card, use those options, and over time, that business takes care of you because you're taking care of that business.
Right.
Legally structure your company. So that one requires the disclaimer, Charlie. We are not lawyers.
Right.
We are not accountants. We're just, as has been pointed out in our chat, 2 jack wagons on YouTube. But we've run successful businesses for going on 20 years.
Right.
And absolutely structure your company to your advantage. And you're going to want to talk to an accountant. We recommend Trucker CFO to decide when to change your tax election, because there's a certain point of income where it makes sense to go with an S corp. But until you reach that threshold, it doesn't make sense, because it costs us money, guys, every year.
Right.
We have to re-register the S corp every year if you got an S corp or an LLC. It's not that much in the state of Utah. Charlie, you were saying it's something crazy in Florida, though.
It's like 120 something
Bucks a year.
Yeah. For Florida.
Yeah, Utah's like 15. So those are things that as a CEO you got to look at. Does the money that I'm pouring out bring enough value into my company? I would say having an LLC, absolutely. What it does is, and when I'm done with what I'm doing right now in school, we're going to talk about professionalizing your business. And having an LLC, although it doesn't provide the protections that most people think that they do because of late night television, it does lend more credence to your business. It makes it more professional looking. So even if you're leased to a carrier, you're trying to look as professional as you can. And
138.75.
$138.75 a year.
Yep.
I mean, it's not terrible, but still, it's.
And that's as long as I file it between January 1st and May 1st. If I file it on May 2nd, it's $538.75. They tack on $400 for being late.
Wow.
I did that once. It sucked.
I almost missed our renewal for Contractors Corner this year, bro. It came in the mail while I was out on the road.
Wow.
Excuse me.
Hey, Tim, if you don't have the new Con Data card, you should ask for a new Con Data card, because you can actually tap at the QTs now. Just saying.
Oh, really?
Your card won't tap. Mine will.
Oh, okay. So creating systems, you went over that a little bit, right? Already?
Yeah.
Yeah. Create systems, for you guys that aren't at the megas. So it is a little bit different if you're at a mega,
Right,
where they handle most things for you. Do you have a dispatch service? If you do, you need to have a system on how you contact them.
Right.
How you deal with them. When do you call them? Maintenance. Do you have a system in place to where you know what items you are going to have maintained at different intervals? Your 50,000, 100,000, 150,000, 200,000.
Right.
On these newer trucks, I've seen people don't even know, Charlie, that there's a transmission service on the auto shift transmissions every 300,000 miles.
Right.
And they get surprised at a Swift, where Swift just kind of does it without telling you. Well, what's this extra $800?
Or worse, they don't do it.
Or worse, they don't do it. So yeah. And of course, planning for the risks and growth of being a business owner. We probably beat this dead horse into the next millennium, man.
And will continue to do so.
Absolutely. I was just talking to our friend Addison about maintaining the trucks. And one of the things that has changed at Swift over the years is we used to call it going to Papa Swift. Don't worry about it. Papa Swift will loan you the money.
Right.
They're not doing that anymore.
Nope.
So do you have a plan? Are you say, if you talk to what's his name? The guy at Pittsburgh Power.
Bruce.
If you talk to Bruce, what he'll tell you is if you buy a brand new truck right off the lot that's got, the 25 miles it took to get from the
Right.
import lot to the dealership. If you buy one of those trucks and you put 10 cents a mile into a savings account and never touch it for anything but maintenance, you will always have enough money to repair that truck,
Right.
including that 1 million mile, 1.5 million mile marks, as long as you never touch that money for anything but maintenance.
Right.
Because by the time serious things start breaking down, you're going to have $20,000, $30,000 in there.
Exactly.
And all of a sudden you can stroke a check for a transmission.
And that's the hardest thing to do. When you got that money burning a hole in your pocket, you're like, hey,
Right.
I need a new AR.
I need a whole house full of furniture,
Right.
Whatever it is. And that part of the mindset is really hard, Charlie. It
Yeah.
really is. To have the discipline to let that much money just sit there. And, you can have it in the maintenance accounts of these various carriers. I recommend not having all of your maintenance money in that account,
Right.
because you're going to want the way I was doing it, Charlie, was I took 10 cents a mile, put it in the Swift maintenance account. I took 10 cents a mile, put it in the savings account.
Right.
So half of my maintenance money was gaining interest. And people will say, well, why don't you just have all of it? Again, one of the differences between being at a mega and being out there by yourself. If you're on your own, absolutely have all your money in a high interest savings account. Absolutely. But there's a little perk at Swift in particular where they've got your back at these shops, right? But in order to take advantage of that, you got to have money in the maintenance account,
Right.
or they won't help you. It's a weird thing. So you got to have some in there. That way you get that. I once had an air conditioner replaced. The dealership wanted $2,500 for it, and by the time the guy, Juice was his name, he's not doing the maintenance anymore. But he got that bill down to $1,250 for me.
Right.
And all I had to do is have a little bit of money in that maintenance account so that they would work with me.
Strong arm of Papa Swift.
That's right. that is an absolute advantage of the megas, is their buying power that you can take advantage of. All right, where are we at?
Building business equity, Jeff, even without a fleet.
We're on equity now.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. So your business equity, a lot of people don't think about this. Your truck, as you pay it off, you're getting equity in that piece of equipment. And you never trust a banker, whatever. Anyway, if you go to a banker and you can show that you're gaining equity in a piece of equipment, that shows that you're a business owner. That goes in your favor when you're trying to get business loans.
Right.
So if you're even starting off with just one truck, pay that sucker off, get that equity.
Yep.
And then you want a second truck, it makes it a lot easier to get financing if you've already paid one off. Now it takes time. We're not talking like some of the people on the Facebooks, right? I'm going to have 5 trucks next week.
Right.
Good luck with that. Where are you going to get your drivers?
Yeah. Yeah.
You're not building equity if you're doing that. Equity takes time. The amount of money, the amount of cash on hand that's in your maintenance account, that's equity in your business. Look at, if you were to step away today, what would your business be worth?
Right.
What could you sell that truck for? if you're outside the megas and you got your own authority, what is your client list worth? You know, even one truck guys, if they got their own shippers that they work with, that's worth money, man.
Right.
Those contracts are worth money. And unless there's a clause in the contract to the contrary, they are transferable. You can
Right.
sell them. Now, you can't guarantee that, Charlie, if I'm hauling overdimensional step
Right.
deck for Joe Blow Construction and I sell you that contract for whatever it's worth,
Right.
I can't guarantee that you could keep that contract. You
Right.
might mess it up. But at that time of sale, that contract is worth $100,000,
Right.
maybe more.
That's
Now,
the equity a lot of people don't think about.
You know,
is the
Rutherford
contract.
sold his FedEx business, 3 trucks,
Right.
with contracts for an undisclosed amount of money. He won't tell you how much he sold that for. But I can tell you this. He bought a big old piece of property in Oregon on the Columbia River, which is not cheap. Put a warehouse on it, started selling his supplements out of his warehouse.
Right.
So it was a good chunk of change that he sold that contract for. So it kind of depends on what your operation is. What is it worth? Typically, contracts are worth 10 times what they bring.
Right.
So if you have a contract that is bringing $250,000 worth of revenue into your business, it's worth about $2.5 million in market value.
Provided your reputation is solid with that customer,
Mm-hmm.
right? I mean, if you're on shaky ground, don't expect that value is going to be there. You
Right.
know, there's all these other things that fall in there, you know. And you need to be able to document and prove what it is you're saying. 'Cause that's something people don't think about. Oh yeah, I got this contract. It's $1 million contract. So I'm gonna get 10 mil for it. Yeah. Prove it to me.
Yeah, there's a thing called the due diligence part of buying contracts. And they're going to go back years
Yep.
and see what that contract has actually brought over the last 3 to 5 years.
Yeah. You may have $1 million contract, Jeff, but you also have some penalties and fines for late arrivals or whatever.
Mhm.
And so that $1 million contract really only paid you $250 last year,
Right. And they're going to look at that.
you know?
They're going to look at the real money that exchanged hands.
Right. But you know, that's all part of planning that exit, getting that exit plan going too, right?
And one of the things that people don't think about when thinking of an exit strategy, we saw this with the guy over at capitalist.com, where he sold his online supplement business for $10.5 million. And then the people that bought it threw it in the toilet because they didn't understand the business. And he was able to buy it back for something like $3 million.
Right.
And the last time I heard him talk about it, he's already got the revenue up around $100,000 a month.
Right.
On it. Think about your exit strategy. Does this person need you to stay on as CEO for a couple of years? Can that be part of the offer?
Right.
That's what, when you talk about equity, a lot of people don't think about they are part of the equity of their business. I can't remember her name, but she invented some makeup for people that have what is that when you get the bumps on the side of your arms?
Right.
What's it called there?
Eczema?
Eczema. It actually clears up this makeup that clears up eczema, and it actually works. And she sold it to Estee Lauder for $1 billion.
Good Lord.
But part of the contract was that she stayed on as CEO for 5 years
Nice.
because they understood that part of her sales was the cult of personality.
Right.
People liked her. And so that's the deal she made. So part of the equity of her company was her personality. That was worth money to Estee Lauder. And I realized that that's not talking trucking, but business is business, folks. You know, what if you've got a dozen trucks at FedEx, custom critical, and your trucks are bringing in, you know, a couple $1 million a year, and you want to sell your contract. Well, what a part of it is that relationship you built with FedEx. You know, you haven't driven for years. All you did was run the fleet, right? Well, if I'm smart, I'm going to say, and I have the money to buy your business, I'm going to say, yeah, but I want you to hang on for about a year. I want a transition period. Part of what I'm buying is you. I always thought that was something that people skip
Right.
when they start looking at their exit strategy.
If you stepped away today, Jeff actually asked this question earlier. If you stepped away today, what would your business be worth? You know, do you know how to figure that out? I mean, these are all things that, you know, we as business owners should be working towards, right? You should always be planning an exit at some point, even if it's to start 10 other new businesses or to start your fishing retirement or what have you, whatever. By ways, truckers build business equity, owning equipment and assets, maintaining good financial records, right? Building customer relationships, increasing revenue and profit. Just increasing revenue doesn't necessarily mean increasing profit. We've all seen it. Wimpy's digging all the crazy colors. And reducing your debt and expenses. I mean, that's one of the great ways we can do that, right? It would be worth what I could get for my truck. Right. And is that enough for you to do something else, Tim? Or is it not? You know? And I mean, that's kind of what happens though when you're at a mega, right? You don't have that customer base. You don't have these other things. So yeah, it simply falls back down to your equity. And let's be real, the majority of people at you know, like a Swift, don't even have that equity because they can't sell the truck because it's a leased piece of equipment that they're not going to pay for.
Right.
It will never be theirs fully, right? So, you know, what can you do about that? You know, diversify, find some other income streams. You know, while your trucking business is its own thing, that's not to say you can't have 2 or 3 other businesses on the side that are creating passive revenue or even active revenue, you know, depending on what your time constraints are, right? But overall, that's all part of your business. You know, Trucker Tim LLC owns 3 or 4 different businesses.
Right.
You know, could you sell that conglomerate? Possibly.
Right.
You know, it's just a matter of how you're going to look at it, you know, and again, it's all part of that mindset shift. Hey, I said it without stumbling over it. Good Lord, that was awesome.
You're doing better than me.
Man, that was fantastic, right?
Yeah.
But from hauling to thriving, you know, what's next? What are your goals set right now? Right? I mean, what is it you're actually doing? Do you setting real goals for the third quarter and beyond right now? Let's work on it. Third quarter started today, right?
Yeah. Weird, huh?
Do you have some goals already set for the, you know, Q3, the remainder of the year, the next 1, 5, 10 years? Because if you don't, how do you work towards that? I mean, you're literally spinning your wheels and just getting by. And you look, for a lot of people, just getting by right now is good enough. Let's be real.
Yeah.
If you're surviving, man, when things finally turn back around the way they will eventually, you are going to be on fire. That's just what it is. But where to start? You know, again, your mindset, your systems, your margins, right? Those things, that's where you're going to get this started. If you haven't already started working on these things, excuse me, you know, and finding a good group of people, you know, like we have over at the RWE community, just saying, or, you know, the Road Warrior Entrepreneur Meet and Greet group, you know, it's a good place to start asking some questions, meeting new people that maybe have some ideas or thoughts or ways of doing things that you haven't even thought about. You know, that network is valuable. Does the fuel card work on the boat ramps? I don't know. That'd be interesting,
If it's an EFS pump, yeah.
right? But it's diesel. But yeah, I mean, so what do you think we've missed so far, Jeff?
I think we're doing pretty good. I always say that where to start is an individual thing.
Right.
You feel like your mindset is already set, start working on systems. And this is one of those things to where I can't tell you where to start because I don't know you as well as you know yourself. I would ask you if you were in the coaching group with me, I would ask you some pretty straightforward questions to try and get you to see whether your mindset is set or not.
Right.
I would say that if you don't have your 10-year, 5-year, and 1-year plans where you want to be in 10 years, then mindset is definitely where you're going to want to start.
Right.
The group has been pretty incredible on that one. We've gone through quite a journey over the last couple of months. Where even as I was preparing the course, there's an initial exercise where you have to write your own eulogy, and I've always thought that was bunko until I actually did it.
Right.
And now I'm all in on it.
You got
to listen to the way I coached it in the course. And you guys, if you haven't been with us for this live sessions, once you sign up, you have access to everything we've done.
Right.
We can go back and watch the replays of all of these sessions that I did with these guys, and you can learn from it. But you got to convince yourself, first of all. The way I put it in the course was, I've had 3 different billionaires tell me to do this thing.
Right.
And it wasn't until the last one told me to do it that I actually did it. And now,
right.
I'm
so resistant to some things.
Right. Well, so for me, the whole concept of writing a eulogy for yourself, first of all, seems pompous to me.
Right.
But second of all, my mindset, and Charlie and I have different mindsets on this. Believe it or not, we have different mindsets. I live life like I'm never going to die. Just never going to die. Now, I know that I'm going to die. Everybody does. But the reason I live my life that way is because when I'm working on like a 10-year time horizon, I don't want that in my mind that, well, I'm not going to live that long anyway.
And that's been my hang up.
And I don't want that in my head. So I just live like I'm going to live forever. That my plans are going to come to fruition. I'm going to keep working on it. Now, for other people, and I would put Charlie in this, the reason to have a 10-year plan is to put an expiration date on it. Okay? To say, gosh, I got to get to work. I only have 10 years. That works. 2 different mindsets here. And you got to figure out which mindset you work well with. Do you work well with a due date? Or do you work well with, I want to do these grand master things?
Right.
It may take forever, but I'm going to live forever anyway. So I'm just going to live each day like I'm just going to keep on steaming forward.
Hey, now.
Hey, Sage. And so that's the first thing you got to figure out is which type are you. That's the first mindset hurdle you got to figure out is, do you work well with a deadline or do you work well with open end? And whichever you are, doesn't matter. You just got to realize which one you are.
Right.
So I always say start with mindset. If your mind is if you're one of those super focused guys, which I meet them from time to time, just super focused by personality. Start working on systems. Start working on those systems. What do you actually do when you get out of bed? Start there. And when we say systems, it that's what we're talking about. is the nuts and bolts. What do you physically do when you get out of bed, when you do your pre-trip, when you call your contacts? The calling the contacts thing, I think that deserves a little more time than we have.
Right.
But you should have a plan. If so, let's say that for some reason, maybe not, but maybe Jeff decides to go back to Swift, so he's talking to Michelle Quantrell last week. I actually have a script in my head before I even call these people.
Right.
That's one of my systems, one of my processes. Before I even call someone, I take a little bit of white space. Remember, we talked about that a little bit last week. Take a little breather and say, okay, I'm going to call Tony today, our insurance guy. And Tony's like Charlie. If there's a squirrel in Indiana and he's sitting in Wisconsin, he's going to see it.
Yes.
Okay. So I take just a minute or two and say, what's this conversation need? What does this conversation need to be about? Now, that doesn't mean I don't talk motorcycles with Tony. It doesn't mean I don't talk about our families,
right,
or anything like that. But since I have what the conversation needs to be about in my head ahead of time, I can steer it back to that very easily.
Which is what we've done with the show lately. I don't know if you guys have noticed or not, but we refer to, all right, what's next? It's because we have a list of things, topics, and points that we want to make sure we hit, right? And like Jeff said, making these phone calls to other people about different things. I have a meeting tomorrow. I have a list of questions that I need to ask a lawyer for some family stuff. I have notes for this so that I make sure I get to those points. Limited time. You only get so much time with these people. So, make sure that you're making the most of it.
And here's the thing about someone like a Tony is, he's our insurance representative. So if any of you guys have a claim, guess who you call? You call Tony.
Right.
And we'll be in the middle of a conversation and Tony's like, oh, I got to take this.
Yep.
Click. Well, crap. If I didn't already have in my mind what the conversation was supposed to be about, I might not have gotten to it. Or remember Mike, the driver development guy in Troutdale?
Right.
There was one time when my buddy and I went in there to talk to Mike about a specific thing. We were both mentors. And we were going back out to our trucks and we looked at each other and said, did we get our question answered?
Nope.
That
guy's a misdirection master.
Yes. So every time, you go to talk to Mike, you got to sit down in your truck for a few minutes and say, okay, I need this, this, and this.
Walk in with note cards, yo.
Yeah. And it helps. It helps immensely just to take that little bit of white space before you talk to somebody. That should be one of your processes, one of your systems.
Hey, Jeff, I don't know if you saw that, but we got a pretty good compliment there. And it's coming from Narc. I'm just saying, to me, that carries some weight. He said, I think you guys are seriously one of the best groups to listen to. Even us lowly dumb mechanics learn stuff here. And he was following up on what you were saying, a plan and sticking to it. You learned that here months ago, right? Look, and it's repetition. It's part of getting that mindset change. It's part of following through and building those systems and then doing these things every day. It just takes a little bit of discipline to start. And when you start seeing those results, you start putting more discipline into it.
Right. And then it becomes a habit.
Right.
And it gets on autopilot.
The key is not to slack once you start getting those systems going. You know what I mean? You just we all get a little complacent here and there. And that's just part of life, but you need to be able to recognize that. And one good way to recognize that is to have an accountability partner or a group of partners, right? That are, I love your camera's following you.
Is it?
You know what I mean?
Oh, there it is. I had a book recommendation real quick for everybody. I'll throw it up here.
Go for it.
So if you haven't read this one, it's Atomic Habits by James Clear. One of my favorite books on habit. And just a really good book. You guys should check it out. It's also on Audible, obviously, Charlie.
Nice.
But yeah, he does a couple of good case studies in both sports and business. talking about how habits are actually developed and how the discipline is in the beginning. Ideally, by the time it's a habit, it becomes autopilot.
Right.
But how difficult it is to start, that's where the discipline comes in.
And in the RWE community, we're not just chasing loads, y'all. We're building real businesses. From mindset to systems to strategic growth, we're in it together. Join us at www.rwedrive.com and make the shift from hauler to builder. Right then, right there. Let's move on.
Hey,
and
Tim,
we're gonna do this thing.
Tim, send me a message, by the way. I got something for you.
Oh, I got something for you too. It's called this. You're either running your business like an owner or like an employee. And if you're stuck in that employee mindset, you're leaving money on the table. Company drivers wait for direction. Business owners create opportunities. Company drivers chase miles and just drive. Business owners chase profits and know their numbers. Want to run a real business? Start tracking your numbers. Know your cost per mile and start saying no to bad loads. Drop "I run a business" in the comments if you're done thinking like an employee. If you want to take this mindset shift further, join the Road Warrior Entrepreneurs community at www.rwedrive.com, where we have profit boosting strategies, coaching calls, and real road warriors winning together. Oh, my camera. Oh, look, I'm Kilroy. I got to change my.
Kilroy.
So next week, we're going to be dipping into the money you're leaving behind. Plug in the profit leaks in your trucking business, because I think that follows up great with what we were talking about today. There's just so many things. By the way, if there's any questions you guys have or want us to dip into anything deeper, that's what the rest of the show time is for. So feel free to drop your questions, comments, grievances against Jeff, not me. I can't take him today. We'll gladly dip into those and talk about what a terrible person Jeff is.
You need to shave your head again. It's getting a little long.
Dude, it's all raggedy, like my whole face and everything. I just been lazy, man. I just didn't want to get the clippers out for the last few weeks. I should go back to look at the comments. Sorry, I disappeared them. That's funny. Mike Henderson. Oops, that's not it. There it is. Right when I clicked on it, it moved. I've never believed in goals and that planning 1, 5, and 10 years out crap. I just work harder than everyone else. I've already had cancer, so I just work until I die. American retirement plan. It's a little gloom.
I mean, if you think that's working for you, okay. But I'll tell you, the research I've done, again, billionaires, this is how they live their lives.
Right.
I tend to believe people that have results that are better than mine. So that's what I work towards. But hey, man, if it's working for you,
right?
But
could it be better?
Working harder than everyone else. I don't want to work harder than everyone else. I want to achieve more than everyone else.
Right.
That's my whole thing.
There's a twist.
I want to make a difference. Not everybody does, though. That's a fact.
Wow, that put some inappropriate jokes in my head.
Okay.
Squirrel, bro. Right?
I'm telling you.
You lined one up on the fence, and I was like going after it. It was great. You don't even realize you did it. It was just there.
So the post, the video that Donna is talking about, by the way, if you go and join our private Facebook group, the Road Warrior Meet and Greet, that is 100% free.
No, that's not what I'm working on.
That's not what she's talking about. Members only from the YouTube.
Members only on the YouTube.
Oh,
I should have shut him up, Donna, but I didn't. I just let him go with it.
I'm doing the animated clip right now. I'm almost done.
Oh, for the YouTubes. Never mind. I lied.
But the other thing is
we're
completely
just gonna do away with that guy because he doesn't even know what the hell he's talking about. There we go. But that was fun. I saw exactly what you were doing, and I just let you do it. You know why?
Because you're a bad man.
No, because we are buddies, and that's what buddies do for each other.
Okay.
They just let them dig a hole and pour sand on top of their head. And then at the last minute, we reach in and pull you back out. That's what we do.
You're gonna drive me to eat some worms, man.
Love me. Oh,
Nobody likes me. Everybody hates me.
guess I'll go eat worms.
So tell us about your week, Charlie. You teased it.
Oh,
Yeah, you had some issues.
so Saturday, I was driving along, listening to our class, and right at the end, boy, did I have to pee, and I made this like clutch stop. Pulled over, big old wide spot, a little parking area. Set the brakes, jumped out of the truck, and bladder had to go. Let's just leave it there. And so we handled that. I climbed back in the truck just in time to see that magical countdown timer that I talked about one time before, counting down from 30 seconds and codes all over the dash and lights lit up. And I was like, what the? And so I let it do its thing and it finally shut down. And then I started taking pictures. So I had the code numbers, right? And then I'm like, oh yeah, dummy, you've got that OTR diagnostic tool. Plug it in, man, before I ever turned the key off. Because last time I turned the key off and turned it back on, everything cleared out and I didn't have any idea what it was. It was all just gone. I couldn't get it out of the history. It was weird. So this time I left it on, plugged it in, and started grabbing codes and figuring out what they are, because it tells you what, some of the codes are. It tells you how to troubleshoot some of it, right? And basically it was saying that my DPF input temperature and output temperature were too high. Had something to do with the DPF being clogged. And so I started clearing codes and trying to run a regen. I had 3 failed force regens from the device. Because every time I'd go to, start the regen, it would throw another code. One of them was like a dozer valve and pressure and temperature and just all kinds of craziness, man. It took 3 tries to get the dang.
Sounds like a nightmare.
Dude, I was not having fun. And I had a load that I was on my way back for that night and ended up having to lose the load. Did finally get the regen to go, 3rd or 4th try. It ran. It was a 48-minute regen is what it timed out. And I thought, okay, it ran, no codes. All the codes are gone. I still have all the codes saved, so I can do some more research later on it. There's another setting, and I can't remember what the heck it was, but it had something to do with resetting the SCR system in the truck, and it was recommending that I go do that. I didn't run that one. That was going to be my next step if, that last regen didn't fail, because it was kind of saying, if you can't get the regen to go, you may need to run this. And apparently that's a 90-minute thing that has to run. And dude.
So was that on the screen in your little device that was giving you advice?
Yeah, it Bluetooth, man, into my phone on the OTR diagnostics software. So officially, my OTR diagnostic software, which is like $400 or $600 a year, just paid for itself because I couldn't get off where I was.
Right. So you would have had to get towed.
Yeah, it would not let me do anything. Like, it was emergency shutdown. You're not going anywhere, bro. And, last time, because, I didn't turn the key off right after this happened this time, like I did last time. But last time after I turned the key off, everything was gone. It reset. It was fine. This time after turning the key off, it came back with more. And that freaked me out a bit. And so I was like, oh, crap. Here I am. I'm only like 5 miles from the Loves in Ozark, Alabama. And I've been here like 2.5 hours now screwing around with this because, I'm not real fluent in how to use these tools, right? Finally made the decision, talked to my planning people at the DC, said, hey, I don't think you can count on me for tonight. Here's my plan. I'm planning on running down to the Loves and parking and actually letting the truck idle all night, because I know that over the night, at least once I'm going to have a regen, just because that's just what my truck does when I'm parked. and I haven't been using the max mileage. So I let the truck idle all night. Actually, right after I woke up, regen started, and it ran successfully with no codes. So at that point, I was like, okay, I just didn't want to be driving back and be stuck somewhere where we have nothing, no one, and no hope. So that's why I made the decision to just stay at the Loves that night. There was parking available. There's technicians, kind of. They're whatever. Sometimes they're good, sometimes they're not. So I had some help if and when it was needed. But yeah, it sucked, man. The revenue loss sucked. But again, OTR diagnostics tool, this time it was actually worth it. And I can now say that it has paid for itself and then some at this point. So I'm definitely renewing. I always said if I have to, if it's ever a matter of a single forced regen, when I've seen these guys get these road calls out because they can't get their truck to move more than 5 miles an hour, and they're out in the middle of the desert, and now they got to get towed, and there's a $1,500 bill plus another $1,000 for them to hook up a dang computer to hit a button and say regen, right?
Yep.
And you know what would have happened from what I've heard, read, things like that. Because of those 3 failures I had, they would have started replacing parts.
Really?
Yeah. Because that one that popped up was like, oh, the dozer's bad.
Uh-huh.
Right? So what would they have done? They would have been like, oh, we got to replace a dozer, bro. How much is that? Plus they tried to run the regen. So that's, whatever they're charging for that already, right? Oh, we tried to run it 3 times. So we're going to charge you 3 times because why not? All this diagnostic and troubleshooting and all that stuff. And I would have ended up with all these parts. And look, I got all the codes reset. I made it back to Lake City the next day. I ran another load last night that was, almost 1,100 miles. Well, it was 1,100 miles in reality. And no problems. Didn't have to replace any parts yet. Who knows? Tomorrow's another day.
Yeah, I would say that that yet is a good addition there, Charlie. Because if it was showing that, it might be something that's intermittent now that's going to be a problem later. Because you've had that truck for what, 3 years now?
Yeah. In fact, the 7th I'll be starting my last year of the lease.
Okay, so yeah, stuff like that's going to start clogging up.
Right, and one of the guys at the account, one of the planner dudes, he was saying, he's like, yeah, dude, he's like, we're seeing this a lot with the 23s right now. I think I've had pretty good luck compared to some, but I was also using max mileage from the get-go. It's only been the last 100,000 miles that I didn't use the max mileage after those mechanics at Ocala did what they did to my DPF. But I'm actually going to start using it again. Rosie and I were talking about it. I have 2 gallons sitting in the house, so I'm going to start using it again this week, I believe, and see if maybe some of these weird little problems don't go away again.
Right.
Because I didn't have any of those problems while using max mileage, like legit. But again, I had less miles on the truck. So, I mean, you can't say one is for sure why it's not happening, right?
Right.
But if these problems don't ever pop up again, I think it's a good indicator that maybe the max mileage or a like kind product might be worth, the 0.007 cents per mile expense. Especially if it gets me through the next year without any serious major repair bill.
Right.
I mean, it is absolutely my intention to turn this truck in next July. Just because I don't want to pay for it. I don't want to keep it. I just don't. I don't want to be truck that long. I mean, that's one of the decisions and part of my goal setting currently is I don't want to have to rely on trucking.
Yeah.
Yeah, Sean, they put a DPF in mine at 302,000 miles. Never told me. I didn't find out for like a week and a half, whatever. I was pissed. Didn't cost me anything because it was warranty stuff, but whatever. Now it's got 100,000 miles, 110,000 miles on that DPF. And here's a question. So the truck's warranty is out and the DPF was part of that warranty, right? And that's one of the reasons those Ocala guys changed it at 300. They're like, well, you're coming up on 350, man. So what is the warranty on our DPF itself, all by itself? Because I got a brand new DPF 110,000 miles ago.
Yeah, that's a good question.
Right? Do I have 300,000 miles to go on this thing? Do I not?
Now, if you had gone to DPF Alternatives and had it cleaned and used max mileage, you'd have a lifetime warranty on it.
Right?
Just saying.
$290,000 miles. Yeah, see, that's
Yeah,
So-
it seems to be right at 300 is when you
You know-
start having problems with it.
and that's but see, here's one of the funny things to me was I didn't notice any sort of problems with mine. I wasn't throwing weird codes. Every now and then I'd get, an amber light, not even the check light, just the random amber light. And, what I read was it was just, it tried for some value. It didn't get the value expected. So it lights that little amber light up. And then goes away because it gets the value it's expecting later on. Right.
Yeah.
And apparently some of those codes that it threw during that time were sent to Freightliner and Swift at some point. And Freightliner contacted Swift and said, hey, you need to change this DPF because of these reasons, or take a good look at it. And then the decision was, hey, there's soot on your tailpipe, so your DPF is bad, and they changed the DPF. Didn't cost me anything, just annoying.
Yeah.
But-
Well, I would have been happier if they would have at least taken pictures of it.
That would have been nice. They said that they did, but nobody could ever produce them. Just saying. Yeah, that's a trip, Sean. He said he was using the Pittsburgh Power max mileage stuff from day one. So, I don't know, man. Yeah, it was definitely turned out to be an interesting week, and it was weird for me to be off in the middle of the week. The middle of our week, right? I don't know. It was really freaking me out a little bit. I was thinking, oh man, I've had a great run, and this is the one. I'm not going to like this one at all. I'm not prepared for this major repair bill because now it's out of warranty. Right.
Right.
I was like, good Lord. So, it did tighten me up and it said, hey man, you better start saving this money up a little bit better than you were. Right. So, it's one of them slap in the face wake up calls.
Back to what we were talking about,
Right.
how hard it is. Charlie likes his tools. We all know that. And I like my little plastic figurines. We all
Right.
know. And it takes discipline, man. It's like with the ES card, right? If you go for the option of the prepaid, it takes discipline to get that $2,000 or so in there to where you can cash flow it and never
Right.
run out of fuel money. Absolutely, we've seen the numbers, but that doesn't make it easy,
Right.
So that's where writing stuff down. These are my processes. Really comes in, man.
Yeah.
You have experiences like this, and it kind of wakes you up a little bit.
Yeah.
I'm interested to know more about what the subscription price is on that doohickey you've got.
Let me pull it back up. I think I want to say it's 600 a year.
Okay.
I honestly can't remember.
Well, you're right. One force regen issue, and that pays for that easy. Especially where you were in a situation where you would have had to get towed.
Right. Here we go. Oh, and by the way, my diagnostic tool has been hooked up to the port ever since that happened. Just because I'm trying to collect longer term data on it right now, just to see.
So does it give you real time data as you're driving down the road then?
Yep.
Oh, that's nice.
Pricing. There we go.
You know what to do with that data, though? That's the other issue.
Yeah, some of it. I mean, that's where Google's in Chat GPT or something like that can come in, because there's an awful lot of info out there that you can sort through, right?
Or Grok. You know, I love Grok.
OTR Diagnostics with OTR Link 2, they have a new device out. Right now it says $399, and basically what you get is you get the device and the software for a year, right? After the year is up, then you got to pay for the upgrade service for the year on the software.
Yeah, subscription.
Yeah, subscription, good one. Wait. First year subscription included in the packages provides access to our app, software, all updates, and new features at no additional charge. Auto renews yearly, starting the second year for $399.
Oh, so less expensive than we thought.
Right? Now I got to go back and see how much I'm paying. Because I swear mine was like $600, but I don't know. There is some sort of special going on right now that they were talking about. Freedom month deal. That's what they called it. So I don't know what the regular right now might be a good time to do it, is what I'm hearing.
Yeah.
$399, they'll send it to you. And I mean, they're good for all these trucks, Freightliner, Volvo, International, PACCAR Motors, whatever. Just check out their things. I should throw it up. I should throw their, let me put their website up.
They are not a sponsor of the show, by the way.
No, but if they feel like it, OTR Diagnostic people, if you'd like to sponsor us, we would gladly be willing to have a chat, because I love your product. Just saying, you know what I mean? Yeah. I can give real world testimonies here. OTRperformance.com. There you go. Check those dudes out. I think it's absolutely worth it, especially if you're, above that 200,000 mile mark, it seems, right? And that deal right now seems pretty good.
Yeah.
And it says Freedom Month deal has 30 days, 4 hours, and 41 minutes and 27 seconds left on it. So they're doing it for the month of July.
They got one of those fancy countdown timers, huh?
Heck yeah. But it look, I would have been stuck there waiting for a tow truck. I mean, absolutely no doubt sitting there waiting for a tow truck, and who knows where they were going to take me. Are they going to take me to the Loves? They take me to a Freightliner dealer where I was at. I don't even know where the closest Freightliner dealer was.
123.6 miles away.
Okay.
At $25 a mile.
Right? Yeah. That would have sucked. Yeah, it does all kinds of stuff. Go check them out, man. I think if you're a contractor, an owner operator, what have you, I think this is an invaluable tool, because the first time you use it, man, it's paid for itself and then some. And especially at that $399 price. I think I bought my first one for like $400, something like right around there.
Mm-hmm.
And then I believe the renewal was, I can't remember. I keep going back to 600.
I remember that we were a little bit shocked by what it was when we were looking at it.
Right.
At first.
But then, I did the rationalization thing, said, if I use it once, okay.
Yeah.
And, I'm in my second year, I believe now. I think. I don't even know. I can look at my.
So that's another thing, though, Charlie. You have to plan for that expense,
right?
Every year that you want to have it.
See if I can remember how to log in. Hey, look at that. Nope.
Did you forget your password again?
Nope.
I don't know what I would do without password bolts, man.
Yeah, I don't know what I did. I don't know what email address I used for it. Because this one says it's got nothing at all. But whatever. Check them out. I think they're worth it. I don't know. Like I said, I think it just saved me a ton of money. And that's freaking
Well, you know,
fantastic.
I'm thinking of a couple other operators that have been having issues lately. I wonder if that would have saved them.
Right?
You know, we're looking at the 26 trucks seem to be coming out of the factories, and it doesn't seem to matter which model, which
Right.
make, they're coming out with problems. I think once they get the gremlins out of them, they'll be fine. But man, this initial couple of weeks, couple of months with these trucks seems to be a little disconcerting
Right. For real.
from what we're seeing from our members.
I don't know.
I don't know if Narc is still on, if he's been seeing that with the new trucks too.
He's working on all the older equipment though at that cement place.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
So he left the Mega over there. Yeah, I don't know. This turned into a OTR diagnostics plug, man. This is awesome. Wasn't intentional, but that's the way it worked out. I can't say enough good things about them after this mishap I had. You know what I mean?
Right.
And I'm extremely grateful now that I had that device. I had some guy one time in a rest area who had a Detroit pickup truck or a Cummins big, I don't know which one it was. But it plugged in, but it wouldn't read his motor for some reason. So
Different ECM, smaller motor.
yeah, I don't know. I mean, they tell you, it's not for those motors. So
Right.
it just may not be in their library of data, I guess. I don't know. I thought it was worth a shot though, because he was having crazy codes and couldn't figure out what they were. I'm like, hey, he's like, you wouldn't happen to have one. He's like, I know it's crazy to ask. I'm like, actually, I do, bro.
Mm-hmm.
He was very shocked. And then it turned out that it wouldn't work for his pickup truck. So there you go. But it was something.
Huh.
How'd your week go, Jeff?
It was all right. I got my load home, which my number one beef with my current carrier is that not being able to get home easily. And I'll just plug, when you're looking for a carrier, guys, I didn't realize it would be as bad as it is, but make sure they operate somewhere around your house.
Right.
You know, it turns out the Panther, almost all of their business is east of the Mississippi. So if I lived in like Memphis or Mississippi or Missouri or any of those places, I'd be all right. But trying to get home, I'm having to take a little bit of a bath on the rate to get home because they're farming it out to oh gosh, what is it? One of the big brokers. I've told you before, Charlie, which one it is.
Yeah, I don't know.
But anyway, it's one of the big brokerage houses that they work with for where they've got guys that are stuck or need to get to a certain place. And I kind of take a bath on the rate. Still make money. Don't think I don't make money, but it's definitely kind of depressing to take a 40-cent hit on a rate just to get home. You know, but they did pretty good this time, Charlie. I was pretty happy with them. I picked up 40 miles from my last drop, and it delivered in downtown Salt Lake.
Right.
I couldn't ask for a better load to get home with. Of course, the next challenge is getting back into the market that they serve.
Right.
And I'll put it out there again. I know we've got, our tens of viewers as usual, but especially husband and wife teams. We've got a couple of trucks that with the guy I'm working with that need to be seated. And if you're a same household team and you've got hazmat, boy, those guys make good money if you're living east of the Mississippi. Really great opportunity. If you've ever wondered what it would be like to be an owner operator, but you just can't pull the trigger because of the risk, there's no risk involved in this at all.
Right.
You don't own the trucks. It's not a lease purchase. You are a contract driver, but you don't own the equipment. So it's kind of an interesting balance between being a contractor and being an employee. how they get away with it, Charlie, and you and I have discussed this, is I have complete autonomy. EquiServe, the company I'm working with, that's leased to Panther, they have no say in what I do at all. The only time I contact them is, hey, where's my settlement? That's it. Everything else is just like being an owner operator. So if you've ever wondered what it would be like to be an owner operator, but you just don't like the risk of it, I've got an opportunity for you, especially if you're a same household team, because those guys, they can do full send trucking. That guy can tell you what he was doing. You know, the reason why he was tagging himself as drug runner there for a while is because he was hauling drugs for
Right.
medical. That requires a team legally, because when you're hauling whatever the schedule is, I don't know what Schedule 1 drugs or whatever they are, Charlie,
Yeah.
heavy stuff. You got to have 2 people on the truck, because somebody's got to be on the truck at all times when you're loaded. And the other real lucrative one is hauling small arms for the military. And that one pays really well. But you got to have hazmat, and you have to be a team
Right.
to do it.
Hey,
So-
Michael asked me, Charlie, how often do you plug that tool into your system? Only when there's something that pops up. So not very often. This is the most I've ever used it, honestly, because it's been plugged in. They technically say, you know, don't leave it plugged in all the time. You know, it's because it's rattling on that pin connect, whatever. I
Right.
get that. I just wanted to be able to see while we were running home. I actually probably need to go unplug it before we start out Thursday. But I wanted to see all the live data while we were driving, if anything popped up, you know, and that kind of thing. I wanted to capture it there, in case anything disappeared, whatever. But yeah, I mean, what a great tool. It's like, seriously. As far as the motors it works on, I just saw a list. Where'd it go? Hardware facts. Let's go there. Oh, there we go. So it's designed to work with all engines we are compatible with. As long as your engine is covered, the tool will function as intended to read and reset fault codes, view live data, perform bidirectional commands, and more. And the engines it covers, it says 2008 and newer Cummins, 2008 and newer Detroit Diesel, 2011 and newer PACCAR MX, 2014 and newer Volvo, and 2014 and newer Mack. So, I mean, it's got a good range there, you know? Yeah, I thought so too, CW. I think it's just based on the library that's in the device or something along those lines. I think, you know, maybe they just, I don't know, man. Seemed like it should work to me too. But it didn't. Maybe his ECM was just right. Who knows?
Oh, that could be.
Right. See if there's anything else I could find in here. Anyhow, go check out the site, otrperformance.com. There you go. That's where we'll leave that. Hey, Life on 18 Wheels. What's up, man? How you doing, man? Good to see you. I haven't looked at anybody's YouTube channels lately. Hope you got some stuff you're producing. Having fun over there at Landstar and all that. Trucker Dan said, I've got a 2026 Freightliner, had 33 miles on it when I got it. And it's got almost 5,000 miles on it now. And I got my new Freightliner June 18th and haven't had any problems out of it yet. That's hopeful. Jeff just went away and that was cool. He's like, I'm out. Bye. He's like, I got things to say and I'm doing things and don't tell me what to do because he's back. Don't tell him. He didn't hear nothing. He's got a dad look on his face though, and it looks fascinating to me.
Well, so they let the dogs out without checking to see if there was anybody out there, and our dogs like to try to eat people.
Nice. What is that, Jeff? Is that your shiny new iPhone case?
It is.
Whatever.
There you go, Craig. I got one. I've gone to the dark side.
That's just garbage. Look at that, so shiny, whatever. You know what's funny is when Jeff told me he was getting the Apple, I had actually been thinking about picking up an Apple product as a second phone line on my business account for other stuff that I've been doing. And then he comes out, he's like, yeah, I just got the Apple and I'm just doing it, man, whatever. I'm like, great. Now I can just let him figure it all out and then make the decision later without having to risk
So
anything.
far, the specific app I bought it for is not free. I found that out.
That makes sense, though.
But it works really well so far.
Yeah, what you were telling me was cool. So let's see. Did I miss any questions? If there's anything I missed, you guys, that we didn't touch on, you wanted us to do me a favor and throw it back up so I don't have to just go all quiet and trying to read all these comments again, because let's be real, it's not going to happen.
So CW's cousin repaired his truck.
Right?
Let's get the verbiage correct here.
Yeah,
so
right.
no trouble. M scanner won't read it anymore, but would before. Hooked up an auto scanner to it, and it reads as an 87 model engine now.
Nice.
That's interesting.
Right? I'm just afraid of fines, man.
Well, Pittsburgh Power got fined a lot of money for, quote, repairing those systems.
Right?
And so he won't even talk about it anymore. It's like, nope.
Y'all do you. I got enough. I spent enough money on that mistake. Repair, whatever you want to call it.
Well, I think they are getting better, but I'm a little nervous about the 27th with the new stuff. You and I talked about that, Charlie. The chances of getting a lemon 27 are pretty high, I think.
Yeah, I'm so afraid. Amy. What's up,
Hey
man?
there, hey. Good to see you.
He'll be watching the replay later, he said, like every week. That's cool. He's one of them replay warrior dudes for sure. Pretty religious about it. I kind of like it anyhow. Yeah. Scrolling, looking.
So far on the memberships, Charlie, we do have a YouTube membership now.
Right?
$1.99 a month.
Yeah.
Is that what we set it at? So far what you're getting is funny videos from Donna is the bonus. People are really enjoying them, so go out and check that out.
Hey now.
All right. Thanks, Don. Yeah.
Amy just gave out 5 memberships. There you go. Look. Oh, Chris Hamilton finally got one.
All right, Chris. We tried so hard last time.
That's funny. And Steve Jobs, apparently. It's funny the way it divvies them out. We have no control. Nobody has control over who it gives the memberships to. It's really kind of funny. We appreciate that, man. Amy's Chris Hamilton Savior. Oh man, that was funny last week. I was just like, gosh, I think I gave out like 15 or something like that last week. And I really thought, it would just give people that were currently on. Nope. It pulls from the entire regular viewer list. And I was like, that's funny.
Yeah, we had one person in particular that hasn't really watched us, we know of, for at least a year.
Right?
We ended up with one. He was a little surprised.
Life on 18 wheels, that must really be unlucky. Dude, I'm just saying, whatever, man. I get it. Look at Chris. Yes. That's funny. It is only $1.99 a month. Just saying.
Yep.
Just saying. Yeah.
Remember, support the channel. The more support we get, the more stuff we can do. That's the bottom line.
And it's funny because the way that the algorithm works is the more memberships changes your spot in the algorithm too. We found out.
Yeah.
So it'll show the content to more wider variety of people because they're like, oh, look, people want to be a member of this place. Let's see what happens. Oh, what happened to your APU on your Western Star, Jeff?
So it threw a belt, and so they ended up changing the belt tensioner, changing the belt, and resetting the control board. Is what they ended up doing. It only cost like $300 or $718, so not too bad. I've been kind of keeping track of any repairs on that thing to see if it's worth buying one or not. I could tell you if something like the generator goes out, that's a big bill.
Right.
But so far it's been little stuff, you know. If you have one, make sure you're checking that oil every couple of days, though. I tell you that.
Doubt.
I've noticed that. Well, I had it happen again on yesterday morning, Charlie. I was out doing my pre-trip, you know, and it was like me and one other guy that was actually walking around our trucks that morning. And I saw at least 3 guys literally wake up, open their curtains, do a little thing on their tablet, and leave.
So get that. Hamey was gonna change the oil on his APU, and he contacted Care, and they told him that if he changed it, it would void his warranty.
Yep. Yeah, they're anal about that.
Well, you know, good to know. Glad you checked.
I think Tripac's the same way.
It's interesting.
Yeah, those other guys.
Right.
My brain is failing
Thermo
me.
King.
Thermo King, yeah.
I was reaching for it, man. I was like, my brain's like, must find name.
I just had way too many carbs today.
Yeah, right. But that's crazy. That's kind of a trip. But you know what? You know, that kind of falls into, you know, things like, you know, leasing equipment or things like that. You know, you need to know what the warranties and things like that say. You know what I mean? Chris.
Well, so yeah, wow, a problem with the custom Western Star. Well, I've got a DPF issue too, so it's in the Western Star Freightliner dealership for that.
I like that he said Western Star Freightliner dealership. This guy.
Hey, well, you know, on the sign it says Freightliner and then Western Star, but whatever. We all know which one's better.
Oh my gosh. This is why we can't have friends.
But yeah, it's interesting that they do that with the APUs because, you know, you go to one of these places and good luck dropping your dry van trailer in a lot.
Right.
I mean, what are you supposed to do with it? I mean, they sold you the thing. So I actually ended up parking the trailer at a Great Dane dealership, the one right next door to the Swift Terminal in West Valley. Got permission to drop my trailer there this time. So that was kind of cool.
Right.
Again, relationships, Charlie.
For real.
Relationships. So it turns out that trucker CFO Colt Lawrence used to own half that dealership. And so I just asked him, I said, dude, so I got this problem with my truck. I know that it's hard to park a trailer at where I'm going to get it fixed. Any chance your former business partner might let me just stash my trailer on his property for a week while I get the truck fixed? It's like, I don't know. Let me check. It probably depends on how backed it is. Called me back a few minutes later and said, yep, you're good to go. Just ask for TJ. He knows you're coming.
Right.
Relationships, right?
Sorry, I'm scrolling through that OTR diagnostics site again. Hamey said every 500 hours change the oil. When it's winter, it lasts about 3 to 5 months. But on summer, you're looking to get 2 months because you run it so much. Sounds about right.
Or if you got bad batteries.
Oh.
I'm just saying.
Right? Got to make sure everything's working. Good Lord. Oh, man. So what else you got going on, Jeff?
No, that's about it. I'm kind of out of it. I was out for almost 2 full months, man.
Right.
So, you know, I took my nap on Sunday when I was home. Then had to go back out to the truck and slept pretty hard last night, I tell you what.
See, I didn't bug you all day.
I noticed that.
In fact, I didn't bug you Saturday.
I almost called you, and then I'm like, nah, I'm tired.
Right?
I don't want to talk to Charlie today.
I mean, I typically don't bug you on Sundays as it is, but I was like, nope, this one, he's so close to home.
Yeah.
Oh, there you go.
Yep.
Best thing with the APU is you won't have a problem if truck battery discharge. The APU can jumpstart the truck. That's why I like having a reefer unit.
So apparently, Craig was telling me this last week, Charlie. The new Volvos, the 26 Volvos, they have a start module on them.
Right.
So the starter is hooked to a capacitor, not to the battery. So you should never have to jump one of those trucks, theoretically.
So Michael asked, does the company have any objections to us having that tool? Not that I'm aware of. I don't know why they would. You don't have the ability to change parameters in the truck in the ECM. It truly is a diagnostic tool. It's got very limited commands that you can issue. It's basically just to do the forced regens, honestly, and reset fault codes and learn what those fault codes are. It's got a data library in it for some of them, not all of them. Some of them you got to look up elsewhere, and that's fine. I mean, but yeah, I don't know why they could or would ever have a problem with it, honestly. So I'm just not even worrying about them. It seriously, I can't even see a reason to have to ask for forgiveness later.
Right.
If anything, I saved them some time because I didn't have to block up their on-road number for 12 hours waiting for someone to answer or something like that,
Right.
So Chris said, Jeff, with your Swifty cred, I'm sure you could have dropped in West Valley. But you know what? Everybody's changed everywhere.
Oh, so West Valley is a weird place because I went and had a sit down with Addison yesterday. Just, shooting the bull. And again, West Valley is a weird place. I walked right in. No badge, no nothing. Just boom, went in and parked.
That's funny.
Went in the building. We actually, because they've changed, I haven't been there in over a year, right? Well, they've changed everything. Everybody's downstairs now. Addison used to be upstairs. So we're walking around upstairs trying to find his office. Nothing. We finally see a sign that's pointing the wrong way, saying that everybody's in the basement now. But we walked around for what? A good 5 minutes. Nobody even stopped us. We could have been one of those disgruntled guys, just
right.
Kind of interesting,
I'm ignoring you, Sean, just because.
Just because, huh?
Yep. Did you ever answer that question? Did you find a place to contract onto yet, Sean?
He did. We texted and he did. Yeah.
Oh, my bad. So Hamey's doing something interesting. He used the OTR diagnostic 3 times now since he bought the Western Star. He does a forced regen every 20,000 miles. Yeah. So I'm curious, what makes you do that?
It might be a good preventative maintenance thing. I don't know.
Right? I mean, there's some thought we could put into that.
Yeah.
I mean, if it's not costing you anything, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Wonder if Nark's around. Nark, you still out there? I'll text him. I don't know if he's listening. He's probably not listening. Look, I can't keep his attention that long. Let's see.
Yeah, you two are like brothers in that respect.
Right? Sorry, bear with me, folks.
But yeah, the other thing with West Valley, though, is honestly, I kind of had a run-in with their terminal management a couple of years back. they weren't too keen on owner operators there for a minute, and we may have had some words over that. So I'm a little reluctant to ask for favors out of that particular terminal. But hey, Ken McBee and those guys made it so that I could park my foreign truck in the Phoenix lot during Dalash.
Right. That was hilarious too.
Yeah, the little security guard didn't know what to do with me. I'm like, well, talk to Ken McBee. And he's like, what?
Right. Yeah, I don't know. I'll let you know if I get an answer from NARC, because I think that is an interesting question.
Well, you know what I used to do when I idled all the time was when I get done with my day, with my night or whatever, if it hadn't done a regen while I was sleeping, which it always wakes me up, so I know.
Right.
I would push the button down to see if it would do one. And probably about 1 out of 3 times it would.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's interesting. That's like got my brain perplexed now.
Yeah, it could be a good idea.
Got to put that in notes somewhere. Get the answer to that question, because I think that's definitely one worth checking out. Hey, if you guys got any other questions, though, by all means, throw them up, and we'll dip into those. Well, it's weird having that comment across my face. Wait, let go. There we go. Yeah, Don said he does that. He did that on his 16 also. So how are you guys doing? I know Tim had some issues this week. How are you all doing? How'd your weeks go? So, Tim, I was wondering that too. And it's funny because my diagnostic tool, when I looked at the dash, it said my soot level was good, right? But the diagnostic tool said I was at 200% blockage or restriction or whatever it was, right? When I finally ran my oh, look, I wish you guys could see the camera following Jeff right now. It's hilarious. But it's making me seasick. Ooh, like that. But it was, and then after I ran the regen, it actually showed a low level of restriction, and the one on the dash never changed status.
Really?
Yeah. So
that's a little weird.
Right? I mean, I've seen it change status, and I've seen it get, move up, and seen it, go into a regen from that. But on that one, I don't know.
Huh.
And that's one of the things I like about the real-time data on the phone. Is I'm getting all that data right there if I just look at it. And if I really get smart, I'll put this. In fact, I'm going to do that. I'm going to put this app on my tablet since I have an Android tablet now, right? I never even thought about that till just now. So I'm going to do that because that would be a way better display to check things like that out when it's doing things like this week, right?
Right.
Sean said he's getting ready to get back out there on the road. Getting truck registration in Texas isn't a joke.
Okay.
Are they making you go fill out a 2290 as well? I know in Oregon when I got the title on when I first purchased my Chewy, I had to go to the IRS office to file a 2290 and come back and show them that I had filed it before all the paperwork could be done.
Really?
Yeah, it was a trip.
I didn't have to do that, but then again, Swift had filed it for me.
Yeah, yours was done all the way through Swift. Mine came from an outside dealer. Again, another one of those little things that comes
Which,
from.
by the way, for those of you that own your trucks outright at Swift, Swift does not do your 2290 for you anymore once you own the truck, and that due date's coming up.
It's July, right?
Yep.
I've forgotten.
So we were using, I can't remember the service that we were using, Charlie, but it didn't cost that much. It was like $15 a year.
Right. And to be honest, I mean, you could do it yourself. I just rather pay the $15 and be done with it.
Yeah. Plus they remind you every year. I
Right.
actually get reminders on the 16th.
Huh. So the due date for filing 2290, also known as the heavy use vehicle tax, is generally August 31st for vehicles that were first used on public highways in July. However, the tax year 25-26, the deadline for vehicles used in July is extended to September 2nd, 25, because August 31st falls on a Sunday, and the following day is a federal holiday. There you go. So it starts the year starts in July for the 2290.
Okay. Your application for plates has been denied 2 times?
That's funny. Jeff didn't call them and tell them about you.
No.
Amy said, my friend's Freightliner 2023, 206,000 miles. His DPF filter is getting symptoms that his filter need to change soon. It regens twice a day. And every 3 to 5 days, it does a 45-minute regen. Wow. Oh, you're good. Oh, he said, yes, call me. It's easier. My bad. Hey, I'm going to throw you an invite real fast. Where'd it go? And then you could explain it, because I know it's easier with voice. Let me send my. If you want to, that is.
Yeah, Amy, I'd have to check the contract. I just looked at what the warranties are, and on the newer trucks anyway, it's like 300,000 for one and 500,000 for another. So the bumper to bumper is only like a 60-day warranty.
Hey, it's in your email. Since we got a few minutes left, he was answering the whether or not it's worth running that fourth regen if it's not costing anything on a regular basis.
Yeah. Well, the only thing I could think of is because it superheats every time you do a regen. I wonder if it's taking life off the filter or not.
Yeah, I don't know.
I just don't know. Look, we just mentioned that Mark might be on this show, and we bumped up by 3 people already.
Right? Narc always gives us the mad bumps.
We'll see. Look, we'll see if this works on the phone, because I'm in the middle of plugging a tire. Because probably some dumb trucker threw a bunch of
Those bastards. So the question I had,
can you hear me?
Yeah, is it worth doing a forced regen, say every 20,000 miles, if it's not costing you, if you're not having to pay a shop to do it, you can do it yourself? You think that's worth it?
Well, I mean, it's really, and tell me if I'm glitchy, because I just got a phone call, so you're a little glitchy, but I think it'll just fade out. Anyways, I mean, it's honest answer is that's like a 50-50 know your truck deal. But I can tell you.
Uh-oh. He went away. I can tell you, and he hung up. That's funny. He's going to bring the laptop up. Sorry. So we're going to go a little bit long here just because I really want to get this answer.
Yeah, I want to hear that answer.
I want to hear the reasoning. You know what I mean? Yeah, no doubt, Don. We'll get him back. He was trying it on his phone and it didn't work. But yeah, he started to say, it depends, whether or not you know your truck and all that. And I think that's already valid to start with because, we We want answers, Chris said. That's funny. I'm going to dump all these graphics so they're out of my little list down here. It's funny. But yeah. He has a 2023 Freightliner with 80K balloon payment. He can't believe that my balloon payment on his 2016 was only 37,000 after the 10K lease finished. Swift pays us. Yeah. That's funny. Mike, I'm telling you, man, it's absolutely worth it, dude. At this point, especially if you've already had DPF problems, I think just the ability to be able to see whether these codes are like legit or if they're, phantom codes, things like that. Here he's back.
All right.
Hey.
I don't know why on my phone, like the phone, my hotspot comes from my phone. So why the phone won't work?
Right.
If I'm moving around, right?
kind of phone?
I just whatever this stream, but anyways, all right. I don't know if y'all caught that, but I honestly think it's a 50. I mean, honest answer is probably it's a 50-50. Know your truck, but I can tell you from experience is obviously mixer trucks, high idle time, all our our subordinate trucks, right? Our whatever you want to call them, our bulk trucks, right, that are carrying around cement powder and stuff, high idle time. Maybe not our loaders and stuff, but everything's high idle time except for maybe our dump trucks, right? And I try to force regen them on a weekly, right? And I'll say that as a case by case because I know my 9 trucks, well, my 12 trucks, but my 9 trucks that run every day,
Right.
I kind of know them by like the back of my hand, right? So I don't do all 9, but I know the 3 or 4 that, every 3 or 4 months will give me some kind of
Right.
particulate filter. Oh, now it's a NOx, right? Oh, now you got a differential pressure sensor going out, right? Or, or an outlet high voltage something. So so I'll run all those, and I'll set them on like a 10-minute timer. Now, of course, I have a Nexus, right? I have the full deal, but I think you can buy like the Bears and stuff where you can actually set them up on timers, so they won't just reach in for an hour and a half, and you're like, I don't think this thing's ever going to stop. It will just like get it hot, right? Get it at 1,000 or 1,100 degrees, and then it'll shut it down, where you're just burning off some carbon, hopefully. I mean, that's
right, yeah.
But
so on my diagnostic tool, what it told me when I did the regen was it started a timer from 0 building up, right? And it said that the ECM will decide how long it needs to run based on whatever, right? And I don't know if you heard, but I was talking earlier that my soot meter on my dash says all kinds of crazy. It says, oh, it's tiny little sliver, and it says it's great. When I hooked up the diagnostic tool, I was at 200%.
It says it's got a whole so okay, so there now, and again, I'm gonna say this, take it with a grain of salt, and I was gonna mention soot level, and so you just said it, but on the soot level, some stuff's weird because some stuff, like your ECM and stuff, will read what it thinks it's burning, like what the soot level is as you're burning it. Others will read what they think the soot level is in your DPF itself.
Right.
So like it's the 200% maybe is because there's a high level of soot inside the filter already. Still technically not great that it's there. You're welcome.
So the dash is saying that there's very little soot level restriction.
Right. Okay. Yeah, I follow you.
Tool said 200% restriction. Anything above one, I think it was one. I can't remember the number. It was over 100 something. Yeah. They're like, you really should get this regen running.
Yep. I mean, like I said, that's kind of where it's like I mean, there's no good way because I don't care how well you know your truck, you don't know what's going on in that DPF filter,
Right.
Anyway, right? Like you don't, right?
Nobody.
Blindside, I don't know if he's in there. You know, I'm sure he won't mind me saying, but he's been fighting some regen issues. Knock on wood that I don't jinx him, but you know, early mid May, whatever, early June, and it ended up being soot level. I mean, soot level numbers is what was actually giving him the problem. It wasn't a carbon buildup, right, or it wasn't a particulate filter, or a particulate matter sensor or something like that, or an outlet or a NOx sensor giving him issues. It was a soot level. It was thinking it was completely clogged with soot. It was not. Was not. But I mean, that's one of those things that. Back to the, who do you go? Where do you go? Right? You go to the wrong guy that just says, yeah, you need a filter, right? Or you go to the right guys that can pull your filters apart and not destroy them by trying to go through them and see if there's actually some soot that comes out, or if they can clean them out, sort of, and wipe them out, see what's in there.
Were you listening when I was talking about my issue this week with my DPF?
No, I wasn't. I've been in and out.
No, you're good. I got the magic Christmas tree of lights and the emergency shutdown.
I heard you say that. Yeah, I heard you say that.
And so I broke out the diagnostic tool. Let's find some stuff. Didn't turn the key off this time. I was smart. Saved all the codes on the dash, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I had 3 failed forced regens.
Right.
Before I could finally get one to go through.
Yep.
And every time I started one, I'd clear codes out. And while it was trying to start, it would throw new codes. At one point, it came down to, first it was the temperature is too hot going into the DPF, coming out of the DPF. Then it was a dozer valve problem. And I was like, good God, man. It just kept snowballing into other stuff. Finally got on the 4th attempt, I think it was, finally got the regen to go through. And from that point on, code free, right?
Yep.
And I ended up staying overnight in Ozark just to stay. I didn't want to have something go wrong on the way back to Lake City again. So I just stayed there. I'm like, I know it's going to run through at least one more regen tonight. It happened in the morning, let it run, no problems, drove back to Florida, still had no problems, had the diagnostic tool hooked up the whole time because I wanted to see all the real-time data.
Right.
And it was running fine. So I don't know, man. The force regen, my next step was that 90-minute SCR.
Yeah, the SCR. Yep, the SCR cleanup. Yep.
And
I personally but again, my deal's sort of different, but I've never seen any harm in it.
That's going to be my follow-up is there a downside, do you think?
I mean, the downside, I would think if you talk to a dealer or something, they're going to tell you, obviously you're cooking your filters, right? And what they've always, from day one, right, the way to clean your filters is to send them off and get them baked, right?
Right.
But when they bake them at like 2,500 degrees. They bake them right at, melt level. Obviously in an oven, maybe everybody kind of knows, but right in an oven that's really, temperature sensitive and that, and the other. Right. Obviously when you're regening, if you have a diagnostic tool, you can see it, you're running 1,200, you're running half the temps, right? So you're not burning, like completely burning it off, right? You're just, that's the temperature that the carbon will burn out, right? That they figured out. That's safe to be in your truck on top of that, right? Or to be near a fuel tank and under your cab and all that fun stuff, right? Wire and rubber and this, that, and the other. So they'll tell you that you're just basically you're melting that stuff into your filter more and more and more, and you're wearing out, all your sensors and everything by just constantly getting them up to 1,100 or 1,200 degrees. That I guarantee that's what they would tell you if you ask somebody that. Right. I think that's I don't think that's bad. Personally, I mean, if you're doing it every day, that's a different story. But if you're trying to do it like on a biweekly basis,
like Amy's doing it every 20,000 miles.
I know you text me that. Yeah, if you're doing it every 20,000, which what's that on average? We'll say an average 2,500. So that's every third month, give or take, right? In that general area, every PM cycle, maybe, give or take.
Right.
I definitely don't think that's a bad idea. I mean, anytime that I have an issue with a truck, I put it. I don't look at nothing. I'll just take it out to and throw it on the regen. And I can tell you, I learned that trick when I moved back up to, because before I moved, I moved back here. I'm sure I've told the story a million times in like 2012. Right. And so before I moved back up here, I didn't really mess with. I didn't work on anything after treatment related a lot, because after I came offshore for those 4 or 5 years when I ran the pool company, we had small equipment, and so it was all off-road stuff, and our little dump trucks didn't have DEF and stuff in them yet. So I didn't mess with it. But when I came up and started working at OmniSource, which is a steel owned by Steel Dynamics. It's a steel hauling company, steel recycling company, and they still do. They run nothing but Kenworths, and they run PACCARs engines. Right. And I don't know about today, but back then that's what they did. They didn't put Cummins in nothing. It was all PACCAR. I guess cost, but whatever. Right. For anybody that remembers, that's when PACCAR was really crappy. Right. and not that they're a whole lot better now, but that's when they were really bad, especially for after treatment stuff. Yeah. And that was where I learned that trick. Is the older guy that was there is like, that was what we did on Saturdays. We only had like 6 trucks, so it wasn't that big a deal. And we had two computers, and Saturday mornings consisted of, cycling 2 trucks outside the doors and regen them on the PACCARs, and there was no questions asked. Right? We didn't have a good one. We just did them all. And I mean, we didn't, we still had our fights, but I don't remember having any issues, because they sort of had a high idle time waiting in lines too. So that's where I learned, kind of picked up on that trick. And anything, whenever just this week I had a outside truck come in, Cummins engine, 350,000 miles, somewhere in that area. Part-time over-the-road truck, but a heavy haul truck, pulls nothing but heavy, like super heavy equipment. So it's always loaded, always lugging, not very much bobtail time. And he had every code, the same deal, every code. He had outlet pressure, voltage too high, outlet tube, outlet tube plugged, particulate matter sensor not reading. He had all the crap, and doser issues, and doser pressure, 7th injector pressure issues. And we regened it once. Couple codes kind of disappeared. Another code popped up. We got started, D-rate code, all this stuff. Went through everything, started pulling harnesses off and checking to make sure there wasn't anything stupid going on with pins. And we regened it a second time. And I don't know if maybe just unplugging and plugging stuff in is the second time it came back, and it had a type 3 D rate, which is the lowest or the lightest one, right? Like a 70 or whatever it is. I think a 60% D rate. Right. And we took it out in the yard and drove it around, and that code disappeared on its own. We didn't do anything, but it had, like yours, it had everything lit up.
It's the computers, man. It's the computers, bro, and the sensors, right? And one of the things I said when I was talking about mine earlier is, I would have got it to a shop, right? Like a Freightliner. They would have tried to run the regen after I got towed there, right? Because it was like, no, you are not driving this truck. You don't move, right? Yep. I would have got there, and they would have tried to run the regen, and then that dozer error popped up, and they would have just replaced the dozer.
Yep. Yeah, they would. Yeah, they would have
regen it again.
Yep, they would have told you that is, you're having obviously a dozer pressure issue. Yeah. They would have thrown a quality. You're having a depth quality issue on that, and that's part of the problem with the dozer issue, and that's why it's having problems with pressuring up or the 7th injector. That's what they would have done. They would have went nuclear in a way on it. Yeah. I tell people, we talked about it, right? Make sure you're changing that cartridge in those, right? Do that thing, right? I don't know what I should since I talked to you last, I'm pretty sure I said I was going to look at the price of them. I haven't, but they got to be under $40, even at a dealership. I can't. I mean, I don't know the way stuff is, but yeah. And I know we talked about is when you guys are doing this stuff, spend the money on the Cummins or the Detroit sensors. That all that Cummins remand second, remake shit is junk.
Right.
It's all junk. And Cummins stuff's junk too. So you just got to take the good with the bad. You got to hope that Cummins is less junk.
Right.
But I mean,
evils.
And if you got it at a shop and they're telling you, and they put a knock sensor in and they freaking run, and they call you and say, hey, it's still showing a knock sensor. What you want to do is, try to force them into warranting that, because the amount of, I know we talked about this, the amount of knock sensors that I put in and they were bad from the bat. Right. And I try to check them, ohm them and stuff, but half the time I don't. If the code pops back up, I just take it out and go get a new one.
Right.
And again, I'm not paying for any shit, so it's a little easier for me, obviously. Right. But at the end of the day, I do pay for it, right? Like my boss and them, they trust that I'm just not throwing parts at stuff, right? We have most mechanics and lots of mechanics throw parts at stuff. You guys know that, right? And that's it's not always a terrible thing, in a way. But it is, because you never end up diagnosing anything, so you don't know if it comes back. It's like, well, you just put a doser valve in it, so
right.
I don't know. I mean, we don't know what the issue was, right? What's the doser valve? You
remember back in the day, Narc, when you took your 8-cylinder Nova to a mechanic, and they're like, oh yeah, this is the part that's bad. And they replace that part, and they're like, "Oh man, it's not it. Hang on, let me put the other one back in." And oh, it was this. My bad. And we're not charging you for the first one. Now, they don't.
Yeah, everything. Well, everything's electronic, so we can't return electronics. You open the bag. Like I didn't even take out the bag. I opened the bag. Right? Yeah. Tell me about it.
Oh my God.
But I mean, I know we talked about it last time I was on. Probably the time before that, and probably the little short ones where I called up is anymore. I mean, that all these, they all just go thermonuclear on anything, right? Whether it's after treatment or ABS, and there's not a whole lot of guys that even care to learn any of this stuff anymore, and that doesn't help. That doesn't even help y'all, because if you're trying to learn it, or to figure it out for the next time, it doesn't help, because you can't read trust what they're even doing. I know we've said this. I know you guys preach this, but I mean, the AI, the Chat GPT, right, is an amazing thing, because it can just, it can get you on a path, that you especially if you don't know a lot. I've heard that and I'm sure this is coming, that like all these companies are going to start doing their own, like Chat GPT for like you can just throw in a 3667 Cummins after treatment code, and just log on the Cummins website, right? And they'll say, hey, this is it. 80% of the time it's this, and 20% of the time it's this. And hey, have you ever seen this before? Which would be amazing. And I've on Twitter, everybody's like, "Oh, it's going to eliminate." They will never do that. Eliminate so many jobs. It's not going to eliminate any jobs. Right. I mean, because half these guys don't die. The older guys are the ones that diagnose, and they're leaving. The younger guys don't diagnose. They just, and
the new guys don't know things.
Yeah, it's not. I mean, sadly, it's not even. It's. I mean, it's what I bitched about this, because I've been training for 2 months now, trying to train new guys, and half of them fail. Maybe that's because of me. I don't know, but they just don't have any care, right? Like they don't care. I thoroughly enjoy every truck that I work on, right? Like I treat it like it's sitting in this driveway right here. Right. I like working on them, but I just don't think that's a thing anymore, sadly. And I don't think it's going to get any better. So, and shit's not cool like it used to be. So, stuff's not, I mean, you don't randomly get in, I mean, I don't work at a dealership, but I promise you the Palmer Kenworth doesn't get a guy that comes in a 95 W9, right, with all the lights and the big cat motor under the hood, or a big cam under the hood.
Right.
on a weekly basis, maybe not a daily, but on a weekly.
Right.
That stuff just doesn't come in anymore.
Yeah.
So it's not.
A lot of the guys running that are doing a lot of the work themselves. Let's be real.
That's true. That's exactly right. They've learned over time. Of course, it helps. They're a little bit easier to work on, anyways. But yeah, they've learned that going to the dealership is not. It doesn't do anything. And
Quick last question, man. So
Yep,
Haley said, what miles should we be changing the engine air filter on the one up on the top of the motor?
Yeah, your main one.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, if you go off of what all the dealers are saying, all the manufacturers, Volvo started this crap a year and a half ago of doing, 2 years ago, I guess, a couple summers ago, of, hey, we're changing everything to 75,000 miles, right? That's our recommended, the oils and this and this and this. But I'll be honest, we still do our trucks. We do our trucks at 600 hours, which equals out probably about 15,000 miles. Now that's way short for you guys, but I think
if
that
you guys are operating in dirty environment.
But again, I don't pay for it. One thing that is just learn. Say this like trying to say anybody's stupid, right? Of course, but is know what your filter looks like or acts like when it's dirty, right? Take it out.
Right.
Don't beat the hell out of it, but set it on the ground and see, kind of thump it on the ground and see if a lot of dust and stuff comes out. I work in a huge high dust environment,
Right.
so I can open the filter out and shake it, or take my air gun and blow and see, and it just, it's a big plume of
Yeah,
dust,
you can like
that
that,
thing,
man.
right? But every once in a while, if you're running, you're running clean everywhere you go, you probably can get away with it, with not doing it every other time. Keep one on your truck.
Right.
But I don't.
Yeah.
I know all this stuff adds up, right? All this stuff's expensive now, so it all adds
a
up.
couple of years ago, we got a chance to talk to an actual Freightliner engineer at a conference we were at, and they have different recommendations depending on what the operation is, even
Right.
down to the oil. So, I talked to him about my OPS EcoPure that I run, and my oil drains on that truck were around 125,000 miles. But I was doing oil sampling every 20,000 miles, and I wouldn't change the oil filter if Bob told me to.
Right.
And you can't do that on a brand new truck with a warranty and stuff and expect them on
Right.
But he was kind of fascinated with what I was saying, that I was able to do that. He's like, so you literally have the oil sample every 20,000 miles and send it to a lab? I'm like, yeah. It's like, well, that sounds legit to me. But when
what the
you're
engineer-
leasing a truck, especially, you have to do what the leasing company tells you to. And
When we were talking to that engineer, sorry.
you can do once you own that truck, though.
Right.
Charlie
Well,
bought a Fleet air filter for his older truck.
yeah, and on your air filter, and I say this with really no knowledge other than just common sense and reading, but I again, if you kind of know your truck, is the first line of fuel mileage is air, right? Honestly, the air's coming in, and if you're restricting some air, you're going to be burning more fuel. Then it's not going to be obviously as economical that are optimized right when it's burning.
And if
So-
you're not checking fuel mileage, you're never going to notice that.
Yeah,
That was one of the things that I always used to be able to see. Oh, it's time to clean my filter.
Yeah, it's time to do something because I can see it, and those point twos and those point fours, that's when they start meaning something. It's like, well, I'm down, and it's and it's not super cold out, or it's not 150 degrees out, right?
Yeah.
So there's not all these other kind of factors that would change that number a little bit.
Right.
I thought it was cool, and they may still do it to an extent. I'm sure somebody offered, like Pittsburgh or whoever, but for I want to say mid-teens, they were offering different microns of filters, just like you could get for your DAFCOs and stuff, where you can get a finer micron of filter. But the problem with that, you know, and of course they wouldn't go so big that it would hurt the engine, but is you get a finer one, and of course that means it's going to catch more, which means it's probably going to be changed more. But you could really tell on something like that when it was, you know, clogging up, because it would clog up faster. So you could kind of learn on your own.
Right.
So, but anyways,
Hey, so we're gonna wrap this thing. Hey, dude, I appreciate you popping in. Dude, seriously, again, we're gonna have to do a maintenance thing again real soon.
yeah, anytime, you know the drill, man. Just
all
reach
the
out.
time.
I'm here. I'm plugging a tire tonight, right? Like I don't do
Nice.
when it's not 90 million degrees in the garage, right? We're just out here hanging out. So
Right.
hit me up anytime. You know the drill.
And Hammy, ask that question again later on another
Yeah,
show.
man. We'll get you an answer.
Yeah, yeah. Remember that screenshot or something, and in next week or something, we can even maybe try to do it through a chat or something. Whatever works.
Shout out, Narc. You're awesome, brother. You can click on his
anytime.
name in the YouTube and get right to his channel. I don't know what channel he's running these days right now.
Yeah, I'm on. Well, I don't know, the one that was in the chat for the most part. So, all right, I'll bounce out. You guys take it
Thanks,
easy.
brother.
Appreciate y'all. See
All right,
ya.
thanks,
Yeah,
Mark.
last thoughts.
You're welcome. Bye. See you, Jeff.
All right, man. That was good.
I love that we got him to do that.
Yeah. That was pretty interesting. So my concern would get brought up by the dealership, and he thinks it's kind of BS.
Right.
'Cause it's not baking it as high as even when they do the kiln. So,
Right.
So
I
just
think I'm
don't-
gonna add that to my routine, bro.
Yeah.
I'll
Absolutely.
do like
So,
every 20, 25 in between my service intervals.
Yeah. I might get one now.
Right. Do it in July. I'm just saying. Apparently, it's a good month for it because they got that
Yeah.
deal going on. OTR, what is it? OTR Diagnostics.
Something performance.
OTRperformance.com. Excuse me.
Yeah. All right. So is that a wrap?
That's a wrap, bro. Let's get out of here. Thanks, you
All right,
guys.
man. All right. Remember, keep that rubber side down, guys. And with no action, there is no traction. So get after it.
And we appreciate you guys tuning in every week. It's time to go pee and all that kind of stuff. And people love their fast fuel filter system. You can do it yourself. Also, the install is easy. I mean, I shared a regen thing on my truck. Yeah. Okay. Sorry. Going through last comments there. Hey, look after each other. No one out here looking after us but us. Take care of each other. Don't be the guy holding the camera, laughing at people when you could be the one helping them avoid trauma and tragedy, right? We're out of here. We'll see you guys next week, 6 p.m. Eastern time, every Tuesday. And we